I had a question about the executive functioning versus language chicken or egg debate. So really this comes from the perspective of an SLP who is just starting off in the school systems, and they know that they need to work on language and executive functioning, and they're feeling totally overwhelmed and don't know where to start. And the question is, like, what do I do? Where do I start? What do I focus on in therapy? The place that I would have you start is by coming up with a language therapy protocol. And if you are thinking of this from a perspective of, thinking of yourself as a leader on that team, you need to think about doing this in stages. So why start with language? Well, you are likely the person with the most expertise on your school team in language. And there are many students, especially students who have that DLD profile, who, if they get work on executive functioning from maybe other professionals who are also qualified to work on it, they are not going to fully benefit from that instruction and that intervention if they have language skills that are holding them back. And if you have a hard time with comprehension at the sentence level because you don't have a good sense of how a sentence is structured, it's going to be very difficult for you to focus on those strategies that think about language at a very high level. This is the same thing that happens with comprehension strategies with reading. If we're focusing on things like the main idea or inferencing, and students don't have a solid sense of vocabulary and syntax, then it's going to be really beneficial. There's a ton of research that shows that students need those underlying language skills to focus and to benefit from that comprehension strategy instructions. So if that is also being done for your students, that's great. Those things are important, but many students on your caseload are going to need that focused language intervention. Otherwise, they're not going to be able to fully benefit from those other interventions that they're getting. So it is to your benefit and to your students' benefit to really hone in on what your language therapy protocol is. And that's going to help you get really clear on how to plan for those sessions that are probably, taking up a lot of your plan time right now. I show you how to do that in my course, Language Therapy Advanced Foundations. If you want more information, you can go to drkarenspeech.com/language therapy. Now, what's the next step? Well, once you get that language therapy protocol down, then you can start thinking about executive functioning. Now, the way that I have you build your language therapy protocol does work in a lot of self-questioning and metacognition. So there is executive functioning work embedded into effective language therapy. And so I will start to help you lay the groundwork in your language therapy protocol. But once you're clear on what you're doing in your sessions, then you can start to think about bigger picture, what else can I be doing to facilitate generalization for my students? And that's when you can think about executive functioning from a broader lens, not just as it applies to your language therapy and those linguistic tasks. So you can think about how it impacts your students in the classroom functionally, socially, and then you can start layering in some other executive functioning protocols in your direct therapy and get really clear on those. And then you can start to think about how might I collaborate with other people and start training other people so that I can think about how I can form some partnerships on my team and impact the way service delivery is done in the building. And that's what I show you how to do in the School of Clinical Leadership. For more information on that program, you can go to drkarendudek-brannan.com/clinical leadership. And that program is not just for SLPs, that is for all of the related service providers that are involved in social emotional learning and that could potentially be involved in supporting students' executive functioning. Something that's really important to take away is that some students need that intensive language intervention. First, focus on your language therapy because you're the one that needs to be focusing on that. Then you can start to pull in things like executive functioning and really think bigger about how you can be a leader on your team.